kind of start. I don't know if you've seen any of the episodes.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like starting in the middle of the conversation, and we just kind of
I'm there. That's kind of how I start.
Your podcast?
Yeah.
What's the name of your podcast?
The Mobcast.
The Mobcast?
I just started it. I only have one episode out right now.
With Chris, right?
Yeah. And so with everything that's just been going on, all of my training and, just real estate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've been focused on that rather than the podcast, but I do want to get more episodes out. So I'm excited to be here today. So thank you for the opportunity.
Heck yeah, dude. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did I get to know you the first time? It was after training me, you, Kyle, Kevin, and Chris. We went out to Tap House, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're a really cool guy, dude. Like when I talked to you there, you're like super chill, just hanging out. But then I started seeing like you train, you perform. I'm like, whoa, this guy's like the real deal. You really take yourself serious.
Well, it wasn't always like that. Once I transferred to Madera Martial Arts, I think my training just kind of elevated up to the next level. And the way that we train in there is so intense, and we train smart, right? We work hard and we train and we work smart. And it just obviously shows. So I'm just glad I've been there for almost 3 years now. And
3 years. Whoa. Yeah. And how long have you been fighting for?
Over 10 years now.
No way.
Yeah, but there's been some on and off things because I was in college at the time too.
Yeah.
During my, MMA journey. So I've taken about 2 years off. I've gotten injured too throughout my career. That's taken some time out. So, not completely 10 years of training, but over the course.
Yeah. Yeah, but you've never stopped training, right? In between those times?
Other than like the injuries and stuff like that, yeah, I would hit the gym, but nothing like we do at Madera Martial.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. That's why I only go to jiu-jitsu and not kickboxing. I can't do it, man. I went to both classes for a while, but then I was just all sore and beat up the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some people that they'll like kind of gauge you and spar with you like to your level. Because I was like beginner at the kickboxing. But some people don't care, dude. They're just going all out because they want to get their training in.
Yeah.
And so you really just got to take the hits,
Well, when you do that 5 days a week, you have to really gauge yourself in those trainings.
Yeah.
Because, it'll add up and you'll get sore. You'll be sore the next day.
Oh, yeah, dude. My sides were hurting. I couldn't even bend down because like all the bruises that I had on both of my sides. I remember it was pretty funny. And Chris was putting me up against the girls, but man, these girls are vicious too. Like they don't hold back at all.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I always say the girls fight harder than the guys.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like if you look at just Mother Nature and how like the animals operate.
Yeah. The lions.
Yeah. The mother bear is the protector of the cubs, right? And if you go anywhere near her cubs, the mother bear is going to tear you up.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in fighting. Those girls go in there and
don't hold back.
Yeah, they don't hold back. They're tough. So they're a lot tougher than the guys. That's for sure.
Yeah. Pull up the mic a little bit higher.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
There we go. Got good.
Yeah, way better.
Perfect.
You hear? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your fight. It was April 19th, right?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. This is probably going to come out like next Sunday or Monday.
Okay.
Yeah. So today's the 28th of April. So, yeah, dude, 1:50. Talk to me about the whole lead up to training to like, preparing yourself mentally.
Yeah.
How many fights have you been? I think you're 3 and 4 now, right?
Yeah, this was my 7th fight, but leading up to this fight, there was just so much involved outside of training.
Yeah.
We signed the contract and then literally a few days later, I'm driving down the road at training and I run something over in the road. Not only did I get a flat tire, but it also took out my rim for, I don't know how that happened.
Was that the day that you're going to be on the podcast?
That was. So I was originally supposed to be on the podcast,
before the fight, right?
Like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And before the fight. And then that happens. And it was crazy because I didn't even get like upset or anything. I just kept my cool and I was like, all right, cool. Let's solve this problem. So threw the spare on, had to drive the spare on around for a while because you can't just get one rim and one tire. You have to buy like the whole set. Yeah. So I waited for a couple weeks to get that. Got him finally through Costco, and then they put them on and I was able to like be fully mobile again. But that was like a bump in the road that showed me how much do you want it?
Yeah.
Right? That was like the resistance in my life. And it was like, I wanted this so bad that I was willing to drive around on my spare for a little bit and like obviously drop some cash on some new rims, right? Because that's not cheap.
That's not.
And some new tires on top of that, right? But I was like, well, this is just like, how bad do you want it, right? And so I figured it out.
And because you're from Merced and you come all the way to Madera,
Yeah,
to train,
yeah,
5 days a week,
pretty much 5-6 days a week. Yeah,
especially when preparing.
Yeah, and I try to stay in Madera as often as I can, right, during camp. But I work in Merced and Atwater, so you know that's my hometown.
Wow, man,
I grew up there, and you know that like Merced and Atwater hold a special place in my heart. Madera does too now, right? Because I go out there representing Madera Martial Arts and representing Madera, and Madera has showed me so much love since I've been here. A lot of love,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm just like, I love it here, dude. I love Madera, and I love Merced, and I love Atwater. So you know that's just how I am.
Yeah. I liked what you were saying about like, you know, when you're going towards something, all these bumps in the road, how they can easily knock you off. To be honest, like during Lent, it was one of my toughest Lents ever. Everything was just kind of going wrong. Bad news was coming up, and you know, people were just like saying very negative things. And I'm just like, gosh, like I think I'm done with everything, man. I'm tired of trying, you know. Those thoughts came in and I sat with that for like 2 days. I was going to quit the podcast. I was going to quit a lot of things. But on Good Friday, the day of mercy, you know, the day of his passion, I was just, I don't know, a switch flipped with me putting myself just in his hands. I'm like, look, I want to quit, but what do you want? You know? And everything just kind of switched and it fell into place. And I'm not saying that it's still not painful. It's still not difficult, because it is. But yeah, those bumps in the road, especially when you're trying to do something to better yourself, you know, to better those around you. Because I'm sure that at the gym, I do love the gym too, because nobody there is there to knock anybody down. Nobody has that crazy ego of like, oh yeah, I'll take all you guys down. Everybody's there to help. You know, I remember my first couple of days there just rolling. I was rolling with blue belts, purple belts, and everybody was so nice. Everybody knew I sucked, that I didn't know what I was doing, but they were like, no, look, what you want to do is when you're in this position, you do this. And those bumps on the roads, they're no joke, bro.
And that's
I think there's something wrong with that. Like,
yeah, I'm like falling.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. No, and that's the thing too, is like you go to the gym and everybody in there is dealing with their own unique problems.
Exactly.
We all live these, I probably got it now.
Yeah.
We all live these super complex lives, and we have these super complex problems, right?
Yeah.
And we go to the gym to, some of us, decompress there and really get that weight off our shoulders. And we lean on each other and we help each other, not just in training, but just like mentally as well. Because half the battle, if not more of the battle, is the mental part, right? Because you have to strengthen the mind.
Yeah.
When you're fighting and in life, you have to be mentally tough. And that's something that I've like really learned. I think that's something the most that I've learned this past training camp was just strengthening my mind.
Yeah. No, it's staying, but I think we got it. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah. So talk to me about the day of the fight, man. Like, how were you feeling that day? I imagine, I don't know, like this is your 7th fight with 559 fights, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can only imagine how nervous I would be, but then again, I've never had a fight.
Well, I think ultimately I just kept telling myself to stay relaxed and have faith, right? It's in God's hands, right? And I knew that if I just stayed relaxed and again had faith, that it was all going to work out. And I put in the time, I put in the training, and I mentally prepared for this fight, right? And I didn't care about anything else other than myself, and that was to get into the gym,
right?
To get what I needed to get done, and to just make sure everything was right, and just stay mentally sharp, and then get to fight day again, stay relaxed, do the face-offs, and then just go throughout the day. I mean, I don't really know what else to say other than like we're backstage and, you know, you're mentally thinking about everything that you've done.
Yeah.
And that's where you can't cheat in this sport. And the only person that you're cheating is yourself, right? My wrestling coaches have told me that. And my coach here at Madera Martial Arts tells me that, Chris, cheat yourself, because it's going to show. Any flaws that you have is going to be exposed in the ring. And so, you know, I get in the ring and they announce my name. I'm like, okay, cool, let's get this done. I have a game plan already set in place, and I get in there. We touch gloves, and now it's go time. And the thing is when they shut those doors and everybody walks out of that cage and it's just you, your opponent, and the ref, you realize that nobody's coming to save you and you can only save yourself. And to put yourself in that situation, it's tough, right? And I do it because I want to improve myself, right? Win or lose in these fights, the camp and the training and the process is what I enjoy the most. And then everything else just falls into place. And thankfully, you know, thank God that I was able to pull out the win on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I've heard this quote like in different variations about everybody sees the end product, but nobody sees what it took to get to that point. And I like that you emphasize that a lot. Like, you put in the work, you put in the time, the sacrifice of having to drive back and forth on a donut tire. So that's pretty awesome. And that's having a lot of, like how you said, you have faith in yourself, you have faith in God.
Yeah.
Win or lose, right?
Yeah.
Because you know the feeling of loss. And
I do. Yeah, I do. And I started off my MMA career on 2 losses. And I asked myself, is this something that I want to continue doing? And I almost gave up.
Right.
And I told myself, I'm going to just give it one more shot and I'm going to train as hard as I can. And I remember that. I remember the 5 months that I really committed myself to that getting that first win. And I did swimming, strength and conditioning, boxing, jiu-jitsu, all in one day.
What weight class are you in?
Right now I'm 145, but at the time I was 135, and I was training at a different gym. This was back in 2019.
So you'd have days like that where you had all these things on one day?
I scheduled it all like that. And like I had no time for anything else, right? I was going to college at the time at Merced College at the JC.
Yeah.
And thankfully I was a student English mentor there. So I was working there as well. So my schedule would be like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning would be like working. And then midday would be going and hitting the pool, right? Going for a swim, and then going for a run on the track, and then go to class, and then go back to work, because sometimes you would like have split shifts, because that's the way the schedule worked out, right? They always worked with their schedule, which I love that. And then in the evening time, go to training. And I was training in Merced with Phil Collins at the time, Team Pain. And yeah, that's what it was. And then, you know, we had a fight in May, and man, that weekend was a roller coaster for me, because not only did I finish from the JC, right, graduated with my AA, transferred to Stanislaus, but then the very next night I win my fight. So I was just like, I think in that moment I kind of was like, all right, I've crossed over that first mountain. And I knew from there, it was just like, I'm going to keep going.
Keep climbing those other mountains. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Dang, dude, that's really good. What really impresses me, and it's not just you, it's like the fighter's mentality, the discipline to keep showing up, the win or lose, you know? Because there's undefeated guys, and then there's guys that have taken losses, and there's guys that, you know, that are probably starting out and have just losses. But the discipline to keep going, the mental strength, you mentioned it earlier, how it's more part of the game than one realizes. It was funny, I was talking to Kevin about this in jiu-jitsu, because I caught myself, like when I'm in a fight, And I feel like in a vulnerable position, I'm more of like, I just tap me out. You know? So I'm like, how do you get that? He's like, I just see it as a life and death thing. But Kevin's very extreme. He's like, so
well, he's a Marine.
Yeah, that's true. He's like, if I don't kill him, he's gonna kill me. So I have to give it my all every time.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I can't think like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Well,
for me,
it, you know, that I think that just takes some time, right, to develop, and you just keep training and consistently. I mean, the growth that Kevin has made in jiu-jitsu, and he wants it.
He does.
Like, he wants it. And, you know, there was one time last year, back in April, I asked Kev, hey, you want to go to San Diego to a jiu-jitsu tournament? And he goes, I'm down. And we actually signed up and we went and we competed. And it was like, okay, this guy,
he's all in for a while. Yeah. And he tells me like every month, hey, there's competitions here. Hey, there's a competition here. I'm like, that's cool, man. Have fun. He's like, you're such a coward. I'm like, it's your thing, man.
Oh, you gotta do it, man. You gotta do something.
My daughter even calls me a coward because I'm training her, because I help coach Chris help with the kids class.
Yeah.
And
I do see you there.
Yeah. And I'm like, bro, like, I don't know much. He's like, dude, like, trust me, just by you teaching, you're learning a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's true. I've noticed it that like after a kids class, I've almost been doing it for like 5-6 months now.
Yeah.
Like I'm correcting them. I'm like, no, put your knee here. No. And then you pull. And then now I'm rolling. I'm all like, oh yeah. Like all this is like just starting with me now. Right? Yeah. Because it's very repetitive. It's a lot of the basics over and over again.
Yeah.
And that was something that Chris explained to me. He's like, you look at black belts and brown belts, they're doing basic stuff, man. Mm-hmm. Like they're not trying to be like all fancy or use all these crazy moves. I mean, if it's available, they'll take it. But for the most part, it's just basic chess.
Yeah, no, like, and you're right on the money on all that. It's about getting your reps in.
Yeah.
Right? And trying to get that mastery level of hitting each move.
Yeah.
Right? Like it just comes like secondhand, like nature, each move. Right. And that's what each black belt has done. They've mastered the art of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Right. And so they're able to just seamlessly and flawlessly execute all these moves. Right. But they stick to the basics because again, the basics work. And I say that too in a lot of things, right? In anything that you do.
Yeah.
Always stay to the basics, right?
Yeah.
And focus on the basics. Yeah. Don't ever forget about the basics. Yeah. But you need to get into a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah.
No, and let me tell you why. Because as much as you coach and as much as you train, right? And first off, and secondly, kudos to you for coaching kids class because that is very tough. It is very tough to coach kids class.
With 4 or 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'll like grab his leg and then he's like, the head?
You have to have
grab his leg, the arm? No, grab his leg.
You have to have a lot of patience. So, but no, you can do that. You learn a lot. But when you put yourself in an environment where you have to compete, you excel exponentially. The growth, it just is 10x, right? And you start to figure things that you're good at, things that you need to work on, right? After a jiu-jitsu tournament, you're like, oh man, like I need to work on that, right? And you want to get back into the gym to start working on things like that. And I get it, right? You go to these tournaments and they can be very intimidating, or you don't want to be, you know, for lack of better words, like embarrassed, right? You lose, right? Maybe your family goes and they watch you and you don't win a single match, right? Well, take the risk.
Yeah.
Go out there and do it, right? There's going to be another one. There's going to be plenty more, right?
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to start being the one that wins those tournaments.
Yeah. And that's something that I love about Chris. You know, he has all his medals posted up. You right by the mat.
Yeah.
He tells the kids all the time, you see all these medals? I've lost about half the amount of these fights that I've won something. And I've not always gold, sometimes silver, sometimes bronze.
Yeah.
You're not going to win them all, and that's okay. And like I said, my kid, she already had one tournament. She got second, and she's already going to go in her second one in Stockton, May 17th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to have her on the podcast too. Right away, she can like, you know, she always taunts me during like practice. I'm all like, Mia, you need to learn this move. She's like, yeah, but at least, you know, I've competed. Have you competed, Dad? I'm like, oh,
And that's a big tournament, right? In Stockton.
Yeah. That was her first, and she placed second.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
But she just loves it, man. some of these kids, you can already see they're going to be killers. But I've also seen these kids that just like absolutely no interest, crying because they don't want to be there. But after like 2-3 months of consistency, like how you mentioned, they got it.
Yeah.
And they're just one of the ones that are teaching other kids. And they're the ones that console the other kids that come in crying. They're like, hey, it's okay. Like I was like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, man, these guys are 8, 9, 10 years old and they're like already having adult moments of empathizing with them. So it's pretty cool to see.
It's cool to see, and it's cool to know that the sport continues to elevate, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned that these kids are really good, right? That just makes like the competition is a lot tougher, right? And that just shows you like the sport is growing.
Oh yeah.
And jujitsu, I love jujitsu, and I also love wrestling.
Yeah.
I grew up wrestling.
I hate rolling with wrestlers because you guys just take me down so fast.
Oh yeah,
I have no idea how to defend it.
Explosiveness, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up going to a lot of wrestling tournaments. I wrestled all 4 years in high school, but I just hope that a lot more kids get involved in combat sports,
Yeah.
right? Such as wrestling or jujitsu, even kickboxing, boxing, things like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer that combat sports, mixed martial arts can really change kids' lives.
Yeah. My buddy Alex right here, he's a black belt in karate. Yeah. Oh, right on. Yeah. And this guy, like he's also inspired me a lot to, about like our limitations. Cause he was like a gym rat, like bodybuilding, getting all yoked up. And all of a sudden he's all like, I want to start running marathons. I want to start my running career. So like he lost weight, and I remember how you were telling me like, man, I'm so bummed out. I'm not as big as I was, but I'm too heavy when I run. And now this guy's doing marathons. So I like how I hang out with you guys, but I'm nothing like you guys.
Well, eventually you will be. Eventually you will be.
They say you become the mean of the people that you hang out with. So.
Yeah, if you hang out around us long enough, you will be, right? So you're doing all the right things. I mean, I don't see myself running a marathon, at least anytime soon.
Yeah.
That hats off to you, because that's tough. What is that, like 26 miles?
Yeah, I've done a half marathon and I try to brag about it, but then when I see actual marathoners, I'm like, oh yeah, just shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, I think the most I run is about 4 or 5 miles.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like, I don't know.
But I will say this, when it comes down to it, the cardio of a fighter is way different from the cardio of a runner.
Oh yeah.
Like your cardio is insanely more complex.
Well, yeah, there's a difference between being in shape and being in fight shape.
Okay.
And when you get into the fight, there's so much like adrenaline running through you, right? I don't know, like it's just a whole different experience. I can't really explain it because I'm on the inside of it, right? I'm trying my best as possible, but it's hard to explain it unless you are actually in
right.
Right? Because you guys just see what it is, right? But when you're standing up and then a guy takes you down and then you got to like stuff his takedown, right? And then maybe he does take you down, right? But after that huge scramble for like 30 seconds, right? And you're both going 100%, right? And then you're trying to get up from that takedown, and then he keeps like pushing you down to the ground, and it takes like 3 or 4 attempts before you actually get up. And then you guys stand back up, and he's tired from trying to keep you down. You're tired from getting back up. And then you guys both have to like punch each other.
Continue to fight.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So obviously you can already tell by just that how exhausting it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, dude. Cause your last fight, it lasted 1:50.
1:50. Okay. So
I'm sorry. Yeah. Going back to that. It's fine.
Right. No, like I'm starting to like think about it a little bit more. Right. When I'm warming up for the fight, I'm trying to like blow out my lungs pretty much, right? I'm trying to break a sweat in the back because I want to be prepared for that adrenaline dump. Because when you have that adrenaline dump, you start to get real tired before you catch like a second wind or whatever, before you start to get yourself together. But you feel like real sluggish. So I wanted to get all of that out of the way. Then when I get into the fight and I'm, they ring the bell and I'm like setting everything up that I want to do. And then I take the guy down from there, it was like off to the horse races, just trying to punch him as much as possible and trying to end the fight, but trying to keep it controlled as well, right? And I heard my coach say like, all right, slow it down, get your hooks in, look for a Kimura or something, right? And then it was like, all right, back to punches, right? Because I got control back, full control, and back to punches. Dude, by the end of that, because I threw a flurry of punches, by the end of it, I was so dead, bro. My bot, like, it just all hit me.
Yeah, because when you had him like in a headlock, I think, and you were just going wham on the left.
Yeah.
With your left. And it was, for me, I'm righty. Are you ready too?
Yeah.
How awkward was that? Because you did nonstop, like left.
Well, you trained, so it wasn't, it didn't feel like anything different to me, you know?
It's training, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've trained in those scenarios countless times.
Yeah.
So, you know, nothing happened in that fight that I hadn't already worked on.
And were you completely aware of every little thing that was happening as the fight goes on? Because to be honest, sometimes, I mean, I'm still like, you know, I hardly go to class, maybe once a week. But back then I was going more, and I could tell more like, oh, I see what this guy's trying to do, like get me in this type of move. During this fight, did you see like all these little moments that he was trying to get you in and fight happening?
Yeah, because I felt relaxed the entire time, and I was mentally sharp the entire time. So
that's insane. Seeing someone like, sorry to interrupt, like just go full all out and say that they felt relaxed the entire time. That's,
yeah, I mean, I was a little nervous, obviously, but you know, my coaches have always told me being a little nervous, that means you're prepared, right?
Right.
Because you put in all the training. You want to go out there and you want to do a good job. So that's what I think about sometimes. I'm like, I just want to go out there and prove to myself that I did a good job.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes me nervous. Other than that, I'm going out there relaxed from here on out. Because before, it wasn't really like that. I meant I've been able to prepare for it a lot better now, right? And it's all thanks again to the gym that I'm at and the people that I train with.
Yeah. And you were telling me, this was like off of the podcast at one point, I don't know if it was through message or in person, that you have like an interesting story about your Catholic life to where you're at today. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is that story?
Well, I think because like when I got into combat sports, it's really just helped me grow closer in faith.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was younger, maybe 10 years ago, I was involved in some youth ministries programs, and it was like I grew closer to God in those.
Right.
But I think being able to show my faith through mixed martial arts has really allowed me to connect deeply with God. Right. And yeah, I mean, what? I don't know.
You include them in everything you do, huh? Like your workouts and your fights.
I do. I try to pray a lot, not like, I don't know how to explain it. For a lack of better words, not too much. I don't want to take advantage of prayer, because prayer is powerful.
It is powerful.
But I do pray, and I believe in prayer. But your prayer doesn't mean anything if you don't have faith in your prayer. And so I have a lot of faith in the things that I do. And it's been tough. I've been going through ups and downs in life, right? Like everybody does.
Right.
Right. From small problems like a blown out tire to big problems that, you know, what, maybe you lose a loved one, or a relationship ends. What else?
There's so many things. Yeah. I was listening to a talk on YouTube about the book of Job. It was by Bishop Barron. And he was talking about like at the end, after everything had happened to Job. You're familiar with that story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's God and Satan tells God, like, the only reason that this is paraphrasing. Alex, please correct me. Satan tells God that like the only reason that he follows you is because you've given him everything. He says he hasn't really faced any trials or anything bad. So God told him like, all right, you can do whatever you want, just don't kill him. So little by little, he started to take like, you know, his farms, his animals, his health, his family, like his whole family died. And typically a lot of people will quote the book of Job. It's like a 4-page book in the Bible.
It's short.
Yeah, it's one of the shortest ones, but in Job finally saying like, God, like, what's going on here? Because I think for 7 days his friends came and sat with him in silence. And, you know, sometimes we need that, you know, the community that we go around, we're talking about that like at the gym, like that community that builds you up. But it wasn't until the friends started to talk to him about like, well, maybe you did something wrong. Maybe you offended God. Maybe, you know, you did something so he can punish you. And then he started to kind of question God, like, what's happening? And God kind of just went on this like litany of saying like, well, where were you when I created the oceans? Where were you when I created the mountains? What were you? Because surely you understand everything I have in store for you, right? Basically saying like, God sees the full picture of our life and he allows things to happen because he knows what good is going to come out of it, right? And in those moments, those tough times, like I said, during Lent, when I was just like getting hit after hit after hit, and I thought I was like a very good, faithful Catholic and everything, but I started to curse God. I'm all like, man, why are you doing this? Like, I'm trying to do good for you. I'm trying to do this. And like, I had that real conversation with him. Like, why am I even helping you if you're allowing all these bad things to happen to me? And it made me realize like, I'm not the main character. And then it made me realize how easy I am to fold on God, you know? There's a saying, there's a prayer. Well, it's a saying, but I use it as a prayer. You know, God, I believe, but help my unbelief, because our faith, I think, can only be grown through the grace of God, that he gives us more faith. So just like Job, you know, he at the end, Alex, he stripped down naked, right? And he said, from dust I came, or what did he say? If you don't mind looking that up.
I say he said that.
Yeah.
But the last thing Job says, and this is after God's kind of done this whole, like, don't question who I am or my ways.
Yeah.
You don't have that. He said, therefore I reprehend myself and do penance in dust and ashes. And after the Lord had spoken these words to Job, he said to Eliphaz, Themanite, and a bunch of other people, but yes, Job pretty much just went into a moment of penance because he felt sorry for trying to question God's ways.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't fully understand them, it doesn't give him a right to question why God's doing this to him or if God is in control of those moments.
Yeah. And that definitely comes from our humanness, of like us. I think it's our ego and our pride. Like,
Man, I love that. You know, I see that. That story is very powerful.
Yeah.
Because you can relate to that story, right?
Sure.
I can relate to that story. I wish you would have started with that story before you asked me the question.
No, it's fine.
Because like there was a moment, it was about 3 years ago. There was a moment where I like to walk down the canal banks out in the orchard.
Oh yeah, I've seen your Instagram.
Right.
Yeah.
Or go for a run, because it allows me to get away from the city life, right? Or what city we have here in Madera,
Right.
or Merced, right? It's a small town, but anyways, get out there and just really disconnect and just have that connection with God and like clear your thoughts, right? And there was one time, because there was a lot that was going on in my life, and at the time I hadn't fought in, I think it was like 4 years, right? I was 2-2. My record was 2-2 at the time, and I hadn't fought in 4 years because COVID happened, and then I was in college, yada yada yada. Well, I was like, man, like I don't know if I'm gonna fight again, right?
Right.
I hadn't met Chris yet, and I was barely like figuring out Madera, right? I didn't know anybody. And something just hit me where it was like, just give it one more shot. Do it one more time, right? You'll figure it out. Start networking. Do what you do best.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, oh gosh, right. And I'm over here having this conversation with God. Like, I've already done this a million times. I've done this in Merced. I've done this in Atwater. I've done this in Turlock. I've done this in Stockton. Why are we here in Madera? What's here for me? And basically it's like, well, go figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. Go see what I have in store for you. Right. And I thought I had this planned out already of what I wanted to do. But there's a saying that man makes a plan and God laughs at it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Well, let's see what your plan is then. Right. And I just started figuring it out. I met Chris, started training at Madera.
Yeah.
Started meeting my teammates, Kyle Mask.
Yeah.
My coach's name is Christopher Arias. He's also my mentor, my brother, and a friend. And Kyle Mask is one of my teammates. We also have Christopher Chapa, who's also the 559 fights champion. Moses Contreras, also 559 fights champion. And I'm giving a shout out to all my teammates now. So
Chris is supposed to be on the podcast. We've actually had to reschedule. Well, there's been a miscommunication 3 times. He was supposed to be on 2-3 times, but it's just his schedule.
It's tough. It's tough. We all got things going on, but yeah, I meant there's so many people out there. AB, so many other people that I want to mention, but sure. Anyways, back to the story. I figured it out. I met all those people, and I started to lock in and train. And then from there, the rest is history.
Yeah. And I love what you said. It's like the saying, right? You want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah.
And then you said, all right, God, this is my plan. What's your plan?
Yeah.
That right there, I mean, it's a conversation you're having with him, but that is such a powerful prayer. That's you submitting your will to his will.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this.
No, because God will take just as easily as he can give. Right. And it's like in that story, if you mock God, you will feel his wrath. Right. And so and there were times in my life where I was angry at God, and I felt his wrath, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to work this out.
Yeah.
Right. For lack of better words, I'm willing to follow your plan. And there's a verse in the Bible. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it goes something like, you do not know what I'm doing to you now, but hopefully later on you will. But later on you will, right? Hopefully some people will understand later on in life why God is doing what they're doing, because little do they realize, or maybe they do realize and they have faith, that the reward at the end is far greater than what you think you have planned, right?
Yeah.
The reward you want is, right? God has just a way bigger prize at the end for you.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, it's going into his will. Something that I heard recently, it was so beautiful, man. It was saying when we're committing sin, when we're rejecting God, and he sees us do this, but he sees he sees the sin, but he also sees the pain that we're going through. Because we do that out of either ignorance or pain. I say most of the time it's through our pain, where we're being rebellious, angry at God because we don't understand why things are happening. I can only imagine the worst case scenario, someone losing a child, they die. What type of explanation do you have for this, God? And we don't know, because we don't see the full picture.
We don't, right? And the thing is those are very powerful experiences.
Yes.
That I see those people, I have no idea what's going.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but does it hurt me? Of course.
Yeah.
Right? Losing a loved one is very powerful, and we ask God why.
Yeah.
Why? Hopefully one day we'll understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we will, definitely, once it's our time to go and we see him face to face, from what I understand through, the, theology, everything will be revealed to us. And also on the second coming, all our sins and everything is going to be revealed to everybody. We're all going to see everything that we've done, and then that's where the judgment starts. But it's extremely powerful, and I'm so glad because Chris also does implement, maybe not out loud, but through his, to some people I know in certain relationships and conversations, him and we have a huge thread on Instagram of just like, he sends me something like, what are your thoughts on this? And I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. But be careful when people say that the most recent one, somebody said like, oh yeah, we're just like God. Like we're gods, and because we're made in his image, but he took it in the sense of like, we have power. And I just told him like, be careful when people talk like that. I know what he's trying to say, but it's easily confused because we only have power through him. We are not God. We are creatures. Only when we allow God to work through us, like how you said, like when you said, we'll do your plan. Yeah.
Well, I think, everybody has their own beliefs.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people have everybody has different interpretations.
Yeah.
Different of the Bible. And I think the most important part is that as long as we're following what the teachings are in the Bible and what Jesus Christ, did for us, died for our sins, and we're aware of that, and we try to be like God, I think that's really all you can.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because, and I'm not trying to like call him out or anything like that.
No, I got you.
What I love about my conversation and Chris's conversation is that we're both extremely open to what we have to say.
Exactly.
And we just like kind of like bounce off each other and share our actual thoughts.
Well, I think it's good to have conversations like that, really, and just bounce the thoughts off of each other, because two minds is greater than one.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And if you guys are both on the same thought, or you guys are like having a civil conversation and you're able to, figure it out, because that's what we're all trying to do at the end of the day,
right?
We're living this life all trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
And if we can talk to each other about it.
Yeah. Even the most faithful that I know, like, people that are priests or trying to become priests like that, nuns, they also have these same struggles, these same doubts, these same frustrations that anybody else would have. So yeah, I think definitely having a community.
We're human.
Exactly.
We're human.
Yeah.
Right? And we have emotions, right? And the older we get, hopefully the better we can manage those emotions. And we've seen it. There's some people that don't manage their emotions, right? And obviously a lot of those people are in jail.
Yeah.
Right? Because they can't control their anger or whatever, right? But like we're human. Right? We go through a breakup, right? And now we're sad, right? And we're depressed, right? I just hit my head on that thing.
Oh, sorry. Don't sue. We don't have any money. Hey, good year.
No, but right. Well, we're human to go through that, but then we go through that process and hopefully we can get ourselves out of that, right?
Yeah.
Then we figure out like what we like to make us happy. And then I guess eventually, for lack of better words, you become happy and you're able to feel that emotion of happiness, right? Because without the emotion of sadness, you can't feel the emotion.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
But emotions come and go. We feel over hundreds of emotions a day.
Exactly.
Right? It's hard to control your emotions, right? But there's a saying, and I'm trying to figure out what it was, but you can't control your emotions or you can't control your thoughts, but you can control the way that you feel.
Yeah.
Right. So just try to have a positive mindset on everything. Look at the positive aspect of things. Right.
Sure.
Or at least on most experiences.
Yeah. From what I understand, I think St. Thomas Aquinas was the one that wrote it, or maybe not, but from what I understand how emotions work, we feel an emotion and we have an option to use that emotion for virtue or for bad, for something to grow in virtue. Or to grow into, for example, pain, right? You can say, okay, God, like I'm going through this, but I trust in you.
Yeah.
Or you can say, God, I'm going through this. What the heck? Where are you? Any type of emotion.
Like I mentioned prayer, we're talking about emotions. We're talking about things that, we strive to achieve, right? When you pray, be careful what you pray for, because there was a time where I was praying for strength, for courage, for wisdom. Right.
Stop.
And it was like, all right, well, God answered my prayers by giving me, all these challenges to solve, all these people that I connected with, right? Just basically things to really barriers to overcome.
Yeah.
And there's so much that happened in these last 4 months, right? At the start of this year that really made me stronger, made me a lot wiser, made me more courageous, right? And a lot happier. Like, I feel so good, dude. I feel great, right? And I couldn't be more blessed and grateful for everything that I have. And that's literally the secret to happiness. Like, being grateful for everything that you have right now, dude. It's 2025, right? 4 years ago, I was working a corporate job, 9 to 5, praying to God to get me out of here because I wanted to go back and train and I wanted to find a different career. And there was so many things that I wanted to do, right? And I'm sharing this because I hope that it inspires somebody else to figure it out, because I hope that they can relate to my stories just like I've related to other people's stories, right? And I just kept having faith every day that it was all going to work out. And if I just kept taking it day by day, that eventually, if I'm thinking about it, I'm going to get there. Right. And so, time goes by and I leave my corporate job and then I get into real estate and people are like, you're getting into real estate at the worst time. And I'm all like, good, bring it on. Bring it on. Right. I'll figure it out just like I figured everything else out in my life. I got into it at maybe one of the worst times, right? But this has been one of the best things I've ever done. I've met some great people in real estate. I've met a lot of people that are very ambitious and that make me want to be a better person. And I'm able to be more involved in my community. I'm able to work with teams and put on events for the community, right? We just had the Merced County Nut Festival back in October. We just had our Merced County Young Professionals Network golf tournament this past Saturday. We always donate to the community and help, first-time home buyers. We have a nonprofit that we donate to and a charity that we donate to for that. There's a lot of things that I want to do for the community and give back because it's just something that I like to do.
Yeah. You remind me a lot of, for like 2-3 years, I was in a huge Tony Robbins phase. You know who he is?
Oh, I love Tony Robbins.
So do I. And he would always say the key to happiness is growing and giving. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, or was it gratitude? No, I think it was growing and giving. And you growing out of your comfort zone, like getting out of that 9 to 5 to be to a real estate place, going back to training. All that takes growth. You have to get your license. You have to show houses and nobody calls you back. You have to go through a lot of pain, and that's where the growth happens.
Yeah. And something that I need to mention actually is like, I have to thank my mom and dad.
Yeah.
Because I have been able to rely on them so much. Right. And growing up, I didn't always have the best relationships. Right. And as I got older, I realized that both of my parents are human and they have flaws just like I have flaws, right?
Yeah.
And I don't blame them one bit because they worked their butts off.
Yeah.
To give me everything that I could ever ask for and everything that I need.
Yeah.
And they do it for my brothers and my sisters too. And I'm very grateful for that. My mom and my dad, I got two of the best parents that a kid can ask for, a son can ask for. I love my dad with all my heart. My dad has given me another opportunity to fight. He supports me so much. My dad, I could say, is my number one supporter. Right? And I'm able to talk to my dad on a real personal level. I've asked my dad, what was it like with his dad?
Yeah. It's a powerful story. It's powerful what you would get out of that. I have two great parents too. They raised me well. It didn't take me until I was a lot older for me to realize like, oh, they they did the best that they could with what they had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this time from like 2020 to 2024, 23, I was jumping from like job to job. I couldn't get a stable job, just a bunch of temp agencies that would last 3 months, 6 months. And my dad, he just drives a tractor he's retired, but he's just like, got some side money. He'll drive a tractor for the fields at Los Baños.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Dad, like, I can't get a job. He's like, I'll get you in. But we never really had conversations. So from Madera to Los Baños, what is a 45-minute drive?
About.
So, and then the radio doesn't work. So the first 3 days, silence going there, silence going back. Both of us feeling awkward, like we've never talked. But then, you know, I took the first step. I just started to ask questions of things that I knew he was interested about. And I've learned so much from my father. And because of that, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, that you're able to have a personal conversation with them. Because, well, with me, I was the mama's boy. Still kind of, I can talk to her about anything. But now with my dad, I've opened up this new type of relationship where now I understand him in a greater, like why he is the way that he is, where I empathize with his flaws instead of criticize his flaws, you know?
Well, I'm glad that you shared that, because we are like, why do certain things happen in our life? Well, things happen in our life for reasons. Like, I have been able to connect with my dad a lot more, and I'm glad that you had that opportunity to connect with your dad, right? Because it's no coincidence that you had to do that, right?
Yeah, or that I was jumping from job to job to job so I can eventually land there.
Exactly.
To build a relationship.
And driving that 152 is so boring.
It is.
It's a straight drive. So yeah, but I meant, yeah, like I'm a lot closer with my dad now. And shout out to my mom too. I mean, my mom raised me, and shout out to my stepfather, and shout out to my stepmother, right? Because my parents are split. But with that, you know, I've been able to grow a bigger connection with my step parents, and I've been blessed to have brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
On my dad's side, I never thought I was going to have sisters. I have 3 brothers, right? On my mom's side, I have 3 brothers. But my dad had 2 daughters. And I was like, well, cool. Now I got 2 sisters. He's like, let's go, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, you never know what life's going to bring. Like me, I'm divorced, so my kid is kind of like in your situation. It's been 10 years now. But now she's got a little sister over there with her mom.
Yeah.
And it's funny because she'll talk to me about her sister, the funny things that she does, because she's 3 right now. So like she's in the hilarious age where, well, they destroy everything, but everything they do and say is hilarious. So she'll tell me those stories. So even when we go out and like we grab food, but I'm going to drop her off with her mom, like get your sister something too, you know?
Yeah.
She's not my kid, but it's my daughter's sibling.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So there's a certain extent where it's just like, well, I care about her because she's part of my daughter's life, you know?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that, you know, the step parents that you're able to develop a good relationship with them too. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because to the kids, you never know who it's going to be, you know?
Let me ask you this. Would you want any more kids?
Yeah, 100%. I'm open to kids.
Yeah.
I'm just not very good at relationships.
See, for me, I don't have any kids, but I'm also still fairly young, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, do I want kids? Of course.
Yeah.
I want to start a family one day, but
how old are you?
In due time. 29.
Oh yeah, dude, you're pretty young. I just turned 35 yesterday, so yeah, I still feel pretty young.
Yeah, I know. I feel great.
I mean, you look great, dude. On your Instagram, I'm like, how's this guy so ripped? You know?
Oh man. Well, again, shout out to my parents. Passed on some good genes.
Well, maybe that's the one thing I won't shout out to my parents. Everybody on my dad's side like has a pot belly, and everybody on my mom's side is like cut and everything, and they're short.
No, you know what?
So I love my parents, but I got like my dad's belly side and my mom's short side. I'm like, this sucks, man, but it's all right. I'll work with it.
Oh man, my mom likes to joke around and say, when your dad was your age, he looked like you, right? Because my dad's heavier set now. But I'm like, well, gosh, I hope I don't look like my dad when I'm older. Like, for lack of better words.
Yeah,
I love you, Dad, but
yeah, man. So the important, kids. Yeah, absolutely. I'm open to everything. I'm open to marriage, remarrying again. I've had some relationships, but I'm a lot more particular.
Yeah.
The type of woman that I want. I definitely want one that is definitely enveloped in the Catholic faith and that's open to that.
Well, I think as you get older, you figure out what you want and don't want. But I think, well, for me, I'm not really looking for, I guess it'll come to you in due time. Right. And, right now I'm just focused on like achieving my higher self. Right. You know, I have goals in real estate. I have goals in my athletic journey. And I have goals that I still want to achieve in the community. Yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the community, at least in my eyes. And, you know, I want to work with people to get that done.
Yeah. The last episode that we had, it was a council member that also owns the only gun shop here in Madera. And he was telling me about the importance of the community and bringing it back up.
Yeah.
Alex is the one that got me more into like local politics. He's the one that was able to get CC, the mayor of Madera here. And
nice.
Yeah, so he was able to open my eyes into like the importance of being involved, or at least being aware of what's happening.
Yeah, you know, man, sorry, because I just get so passionate about stuff like this. Getting involved is very important, and if you have a passion to do it, right? Don't do it if you don't have a passion. If you're doing it just for the title or just to do it, don't do it. But if you really want to make the community a whole lot better, right? Because I grew up in Merced and we visited Atwater very often, right? There's not a whole lot to do. And so I'm just like, well, why? Why can't we have more things for us to do? Why can't we grow and shout out to the local leaders in Merced that are making it happen, because right now there's a lot of growth that's happening. And so, and that's all thanks to the local leaders, right? And I live in Atwater and I ran for city council of Atwater, right? Because I believed in my vision, and there was 1,000 people that believed in my vision to make Atwater a better place. Why can't we have more jobs in Atwater? Why can't we have more retail?
Why can't it grow more?
Yeah. Why can't we have more housing development, right? And obviously there's so many factors into this kind of stuff.
A lot of red tape.
Right. But why can't we at least try for it?
Yeah.
Right. And I get it. It's exhausting. There's a lot of barriers that we have to go through. There's a lot of people that we have to work with, but let's do it then.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Right. And there's no excuses. Right. And Merced has the UC, and we have so many things in Merced. We have one of the best junior colleges in Merced Junior College.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm an alumni there. I've attended the college, graduated. So I know firsthand what it's like there. So like that is that's attracting. The UC Merced is one of the newest UCs in California. That's very attracting. And our city leaders, our elected officials are doing a great job at continuing to grow the city, right? And they're growing it out that way. It's really cool to see a lot of more businesses out there. I don't know if you've been to Merced recently.
I have family there, but I haven't really gone to like hang out, but every once in a while I go, but it's usually just to their house. But I do know Merced has been growing a lot.
Yeah, well, they're making investments in their downtown. There's a lot more activity going on downtown, a lot more restaurants, and now there's like this place called Joystick, which is like an arcade bar or something like that.
Sounds cool.
So it's things like that, and hopefully we can get more entertainment there. Hopefully more businesses will want to do business in Merced. Because here in Madera too, Madera is great. You know, I'll mention a few things about Madera too, right? And I don't know a whole lot, but what I do know is that Madera has a really good, like strong community here. Yeah. The people that I've met at least, are always like, oh, I'm from Madera. I'm repping Madera, like Madtown, right? Yeah. That's what I hear a lot. Madtown all the time, right? And I think that's cool. I think that that's a cool tagline that Madera has, and it shows that there's a lot of pride here, right? And there's a lot of potential. I think for just like some small things, right? You guys got a Ross
Oh yeah,
retail.
we got a Ross.
I was like, well, finally,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's cool, right? I was like, dude, and then you guys got
An In-N-Out, man. When we got an In-N-Out, we were like, what?
yeah, and I was following that because I was like, they better make Madera the 400th In-N-Out to open, right? And it was like between Madera and this one in a different state. I think it was like Idaho or something. But anyways, I was like, cool, fun, like Madera. That shows Madera's growing. Madera's got an In-N-Out. Madera's got Ross. Madera's got Smart and Final.
Yeah, and Merced too. I mean, I remember Merced's downtown, and I'm glad that it's growing because most of cities' downtowns tend to be the first place that starts to go to crap. Like,
No, yeah,
that's where the homeless tend to hang out, or like businesses. Because of that, the businesses go down. Nobody wants to go there anymore, and then it's usually where the rental spaces are a lot more expensive. So it's good that they're trying to revitalize downtown Merced.
Well, everybody's just working with each other over there, and that's the great thing. So as long as they can continue to do that,
Yeah.
Merced in the next 10 years is going to be booming. I mean, it already is. I'm just saying, like in the next 10 years, just see where it's at, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I've always hated the conversation of politics. Alex is the one that started to make me understand it more. He says that we can complain about like the, like Trump all the way to like the Newsom. He says, but if you ever want to really make a difference, start with your local government.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can expand.
Well, local government, it's bipartisan. There's no left or right? It's the goal of local government is to grow the city and ensure
What's best for the town.
fiscal responsibility. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's cool, man. So you're involved in a lot of things. Your athletic journey, real estate, and in the city, right?
And
Did you ever end up being council member?
I didn't. I ended up losing, but it was a cool experience. And I met a lot of people, and
Kudos to you, dude.
maybe one day I will do it again. Maybe I won't. Who knows?
Yeah. No, dude, but I really admire your courage to, why not? Let me try it.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Well, if there's anything that, I hope people take away from this podcast, it's that just try.
Yeah.
Try. If you fail and, try again, right? There's so many things in life that you will fail in, but all it takes is one time to succeed, and that'll
shift everything.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember I read something. I follow this guy, Alex Harmozy. I don't know if you follow him too. Yeah. He was saying like, if you're willing to fail 100 times in a row, you're eventually going to be really good at whatever this thing that you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
He says, you just got to go in with the understanding that you are going to fail. You're not going to be good at it. You're going to suck at it. Going back to jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
You're going there and being awkward. I remember when I rolled with this black belt, I'm like, it's impossible. I can never learn because if I put my hand here, he does something. If I put my hand there, he does something. He's all like, come get me. I'm all like, no, I kind of just want to stay here now. But nothing happens.
Yeah.
I won't learn if I just stay there. It's not until I start doing things. And the beauty of it, exactly. So, yeah, I really admire your courage. And I feel like what he said, that Alex Hermosi guy, it shows in you that you're not afraid of the reps. You're not afraid to fail and try again. I mean, the fear might be there. The anxiety might be there. The depression might come in, like if there's a failure, but your willingness to get up.
Yeah.
And that also goes within our faith too.
Yeah.
Alex, do you have any questions by chance?
Oh, I mean, this is more fire related.
Yeah.
I'm a huge MMA fan. Like ever since I got into martial arts, I watch all the UFC fights. Once in a while, I'll watch one championship too. I know you fight at 145. Just curious because of the weight cut. Like, what do you walk around at, and how's the weight cut process for you?
So that's a good question because I'm not like most fighters where you cut a ton of weight. I don't like that. I hate it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we should do that. I walk around typically 150, 155 and I fight at 145, right? And I try to keep a clean diet, but yeah. So I've cut weight before. I've done it, but it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody who does it, they always look miserable. Oh, Kyle, that one time we were at the bar. Kyle was just like so miserable. Like his fight was like the next day or right? He was just like starving himself, going to saunas and everything. I'm like, man, that looks miserable.
Well, the thing is this last fight, I was already on weight. And so my teammates were like, hey, how's your weight? I'm like, I'm good. And they're like, damn, so you're gonna be eating good, huh? I'm like, yeah, dude, like I'm gonna be feeling good, right? So, but yeah, it's tough, you know, and I've seen that when Kyle's in the sauna and he's cutting weight, it's tough. But hey, if you want to be a champion, that's what you got.
Yeah. Kevin, I've seen Kevin in that same situation. I remember one time for Stockton, he was already miserable. He's like, all right, we're gonna go. If I don't make weight, there's this gym that has a sauna. I'll just be in there for like an hour and then we'll go back.
Yeah.
Luckily, he made weight. It's a funny story, but next time I have Kevin on, I'll let him tell.
There was one time I'll share real quick. Me and when I was wrestling in high school, we went to a wrestling tournament, and we're high schoolers, by the way. And we went to this wrestling tournament down in Fresno at Selland Arena. And my teammate was so dehydrated that his lips were like very chapped and like yellow. I was like, dude, you need to, like, we need to get you weighed in. Like, don't ever do this again.
Yeah. Because what's the thought process behind that? Going for a lighter weight when you weigh, like how you said, you stand at 150, 155.
Yeah. You know, I fought at 3 different weight classes, 125, 135, and 145. My first 2 fights were at 125.
Wow.
My second 2 fights were at 135, which technically I'm 2-0 at 135. I'm 0-2 at 125. And then I went to 145 where I've had 3 fights and I'm 1-2 at 145. Now the difference, and I've gotten as big as 170.
Wow.
But I haven't fought at that. I've just bulked up like that. Now for a guy like me, because I'm 5'9", when I get up to 170, once I pass 160 pounds, I start to feel slower and more sluggish. Now maybe that's because I'm not doing as much explosive workouts because I want to get that muscle mass, that body mass. So, you know, whatever. But when I get from 160 to right now, 150, I feel good. I like to stay that heavy. I do lose a little bit of speed, but nothing crazy, right? 145, I feel good at. 135, I felt great at. And that was in the past. If I wanted to do it again, maybe I could. But I like 145s right now. I feel comfortable. 125s, I'll never do again.
Yeah, I was about to add.
That was horrible.
You're 5. I'm 5'1". I think that's the way I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, that's for like 5'2" to 5'6" fighters, right? Yeah. And height, it does, like, there's an advantage to it, right? When I fight at 135, I fight maybe fighters that are 5'6", 5'9" sometimes, but I'm generally bigger in that weight class, so it's good for me, right? But 145s is fair. There's guys that are generally the same size as me. I still look a little bigger in that weight class, not gonna lie. But I think that's because of the training that we put in.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. Me and Chris, we'll do morning workouts, 10 a.m.s. That dude does 6 a.m.s.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, you're like, that's what's up, man. But yeah, I do 10 a.m.s in the morning with him. And then it's cool because we both are real estate agents and we both work for real estate.
Oh, you guys are in the same...
We're in the same brokerage.
That's so
cool.
Cool.
And so he, like, we're just able, we'll train and then we'll like submit an offer for a house, or we'll go like do a showing or take pictures of a property or like whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like cool that we're able to
work together.
Yeah. Work together a lot more. Right. I want to talk a little bit about real estate because I got into that after my corporate job, and that's been the best experience. That's been the best decision of my life. I love real estate. Before I worked for Iron Key, I was with another brokerage for about a year. And then just in February, I switched over to Iron Key. And that's been the best decision ever, right? My broker, Brandon, is awesome. And he trains jujitsu.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. The team there is awesome. There's a lot of energy in the office when I go to the meetings, and there's people that are willing to help. And Chris works there as well, right? Yeah. So we work together, which is cool. And he helps me a lot become a better agent. If I have any questions or, you know, he's there for me. Yeah. And if he can't answer it, then I got Brandon, my broker, right? And Brandon is such I don't know. He's done so much already in real estate. It's like I want to be like him, right? You know, so it's cool because I'm working under him and I know one day I will.
Yeah.
And being able to carry the Iron Key flag in Merced County, because Iron Key is based out of Fresno.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
So I'm able to carry the flag in Merced.
Expand it.
Yeah. And like, I have a big vision for it, right? And and I know one day we'll have a brick and mortar office in Merced. I can't wait for that. Yeah. And one day I'm going to be a broker, right? And I'm going to be with Iron Key, right? And it like,
that's a beautiful thing, man.
At the start of this year, like I was struggling. There was a lot of changes that I needed to make. And it all started with just making my bed in the morning, right? If you're struggling with something and you don't know what to do, we'll start with making your bed, clean your room.
Yeah.
Right.
Peterson, huh?
Yeah. Get rid of the things that don't serve you. Cut it.
Yeah.
And be comfortable with being uncomfortable and be comfortable with detachment.
Yeah.
Cut things that don't serve you. And that's what I had to do. I started off with making my bed, cleaning my room, making sure all my laundry is clean, right? Going through all my paperwork, organizing it, right? And this isn't something that you do in a day. This takes maybe a few weeks, maybe a month to do, right?
And it's ongoing too.
Yeah. But just do it. And then I cleaned out my emails on my computer. And then I cleaned out my car, right? And then I was like, all right, cool. I literally cleaned everything, right? What else can I clean? Right? Well, then I was like, well, let me just start. I think I lost my train of thought. But anyways, basically, I was just like, what else can I clean? Well, I'm just going to start fixing things. That's what I was going to say. I'm going to start fixing things, right? Yeah. There were some things in my car that needed to be fixed. So I started fixing that. And then I started to figure out, well, dang, like, I want to start doing more things to my car.
Yeah.
Right? And so I started making upgrades to my car. And then it's just little things like that, right? And then one thing led to another. I was like, I need to make a change in my real estate. So that's why I joined Iron Key. I was like, I want to do something else for the community. I became a board of director for the Merced County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Just, you know, if you feel like stuck, like just start with making your bed, and then eventually, you know, things will progress. And like, for me, doing that, I was able to get a mental refresher and a reset.
You get clarity.
Yeah. And I felt great. I felt even better because I changed my environment up.
Yep.
And then once I did all that, then I was able to like start focusing on my goals.
Yeah.
And focusing on like my ambitions and like,
because you don't have to worry about this clutter.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I literally had nothing to worry about. And it's tough. I know that it's a lot harder for people to do it. And it was hard for me, but thankfully I was able to just do it.
Yeah.
To just get through it.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And yeah, I started, when I got into Jordan Peterson, the 12 rules for life, the make your bed, and then you hear the stories behind it, you know? I remember he told a story about a guy that he really needed to clean his room and he couldn't clean it, but he brought the vacuum close to his door. And one would say like, yeah, but he still didn't do anything. But no, that's progress. Yeah, it's a small, tiny step. And then what? Then you bring it into your room. Then you turn it on, and then, you know, and it becomes like a little snowball that becomes into like a big ball of productivity that you get. When I'm praying, like when I try to pray a rosary, it takes about 15, 20 minutes. Those are the thoughts that come into my head. Oh, I need to get this done. I need to get that done. I need to get this done. When I have everything done, when I how you said, you know, from making my bed to cleaning out my emails, which that one made me laugh because that's the one that I avoid the most. I have nothing to focus on but on my prayer. I have nothing to focus on but when I'm with my daughter. I have nothing to focus on but, you know, right now on this podcast. It is so important to keep everything in order. Because what was the 12 rules for life are an antidote to chaos, you know, which is the opposite of order. Such a beautiful thing. And I love that you said that you changed your environment and that changed you, because that is so true. You become with who you're with and where you go to. That becomes your identity. whether you want it or not. It's instilled in you.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned too that it allows you to focus more on God.
Exactly.
It gives you more time to connect with God.
Yeah.
And that's what it did for me.
Yeah. And and I want to bring this up when you brought it up, but we were talking about so many good things. When you go to the canal to walk or jog, to be in silence is where God speaks. And, we talk about the physical clutter. Once we get rid of the physical clutter, that mental clutter goes away. And when we are able to sit in silence, which is extremely hard to do, if you don't believe me, try it. Try to stay in silence for 15, 30 minutes and tell me what comes out of it. You're going to be anxious. You're going to, all of a sudden, all these things that you were putting off, you're going to be like, oh, maybe I should start doing that.
Yeah.
Because you would rather do anything than be in silence. And that's where God speaks to us. Because we're ready, because for me, at least my prayer life has been, and it's developed along the years, it's asking, talking, wondering why, like trying to have a conversation. And then I just go to my phone or I go do the next thing. I didn't even spend 5 minutes in silence to hear what he had to say.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many stories about people being in solitude, right? And that's where you find yourself the most, is being by yourself, right? And like that'll really show you, and it'll really show you that you don't need anybody but yourself and God.
Yeah.
Right. And that will allow you to really connect with God. I mean, 15 minutes, it seems like it's a lot. It's nothing. It's not. Meditate. Go and meditate. Try and meditate for 15 minutes, right? Try and meditate for a longer period of time. Right. I do that on the canal bank. I'll just sit there, close my eyes, and I'll just have a conversation. So being by yourself, no phones, with God, very powerful.
Yeah, because it says that when you pray, go to your room, close the door, and start talking to God, which basically means be alone. Be alone with God. That way you're able to express yourself fully. So being in nature, I think that's also a great place to meditate, a great place to pray. And but the silence, it's so intimidating to people. But if it takes going out to nature, I think, Alex, you told me too, like a lot when you're running, that's where you do a lot of your prayer too, right? Yeah. Did you want to share on that?
Yeah. There was a time where, for me, I wasn't connecting with God in the church. Like, kind of like you fall into a routine and it doesn't hit you that hard. So I went up to Yosemite, and it was running in Yosemite, running around Bass Lake, or even just doing any of these trail hikes around. That's where I've learned that I reconnect with God, and I'm able to reestablish it because I see his beauty in the creation around us. The canal, I run along the river here in Madera, and that's probably the most beautiful place to run in Madera, because it's just nature, man.
Yeah, nature is beautiful. And I like that you mentioned that's God's creation.
Exactly.
It's all about perspective on the way that we see the world, right? Yeah. We can see the world as this ugly place, or we can see it as this beautiful thing that we're all coexisting in.
Yeah.
Right? And the least that we can do is make it better for us, for the next people that live here. Right?
Yeah. That's all we can do. And going back to something else that you said that I really liked and I wanted to touch on more was gratitude. It's very easy to find things to complain about.
Yeah.
I remember when I was going through my divorce, I'll never forget this. I was just like, I was honestly talking to first my mom and my dad, and I have 2 older brothers individually. And then, and it was just like the whole, this is happening. I don't know why it's happening. This is crazy. I don't know how it got to this. And I remember my brother told me this. I don't want to give him kudos because he's the favorite. But I know he listens to my podcast. So I appreciate that. But he says, when we're feeling at our lowest, when we're feeling like this is it, there's nothing good coming out, there's nothing good happening, start counting your blessings. He says, by the time you get to the 5th one, you're going to realize you have so many things to be grateful for. And then once you focus on gratitude, there's, I think, a Tony Robbins quote. He says, you can't be sad and grateful at the same time. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. So the gratitude that we have, and we have so much to be grateful for. Just the fact that we live where we live. We have such a huge opportunity above most of the world. And it's so easy to take that for granted.
Yeah.
You know, we have AC, we have running water, plumbing, and these are just like things that we've gotten so accustomed to. That
We live like kings and queens. Literally. Like running water is such a blessing to have.
Yeah.
Having a hot shower, right? Because back in the day, not too long ago, they didn't have that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I like Yellowstone. Have you seen that show?
No, I haven't.
No.
Yeah, you guys can bond on it.
Yeah. What's the one? I think it's like 1886 or something.
Oh, 1883, the prequel.
Yeah, 1883, right? They barely show that there's running water in that time. And they're like, they're over here saying like, you want to, like, if you live in this house, you got nice running water. And that was a,
You know, talk about the second one. That was 1923. The one with Harrison Ford, right?
so it was, yes. Because
Go to the town together, the whole family.
that's right. It was 19.
I know that episode, yeah.
Yes.
The refrigerator and all that stuff.
Now, I don't know how historically accurate that is, but if it's anything like that,
Yeah. And there was a time, obviously, when we didn't.
there was a time, right? Even then, there was a time where there was bandits, outlaws,
So yeah,
right? You know, and
you can get shot just by walking out of your
exactly right. There wasn't as much,
It's like Compton in the 90s.
yeah. Except it's the entire United States,
Right.
back
The Wild West, right.
Yeah, and then imagine this. You know, you're 5 years old and you have to work the farm,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody has to work. If you're able to walk and talk, you're gonna start working. That's how it was back then, right? And there wasn't all these laws or constitutional rights back then, right? As much as there is now. There was, but not as much as there is now, right? And even then, before the United States became the United States, we immigrated from England, and like even then, like we had to go to war for our freedom,
Yeah.
right? We had to fight for this, and we're still in some way fighting for it, right, dude? Today we live. We're so grateful. Like we have to be grateful. If not, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. And it's funny how because we have so many things that we don't have to worry about. We don't have to hunt for our food. We don't have to, clean our water, that we make up problems in our head that aren't real problems.
Right.
We create like, oh my gosh, like, how's this microphone not going to work? Oh, this wire. I'm like, that's not really a problem, dude. That's like a first world problem.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go buy another cord. It's just like, dude, you're able to buy a cord. You're upset about the inconvenience,
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's all these problems that we make up. And what I think it is, honestly, and this is just my opinion, and Rohit, the guy that I had here last time, we talked about it. The social media, keeping up with the Joneses, trying to comparing ourselves with everybody else instead of just focusing on ourselves, hating on other people that are going, like, for example, you, right? I mean, dude, I have dislikes on some of my videos and I only have like 70 subscribers. And I'm like, that's hilarious, And
Those are just the bots.
yeah,
No, I'm just
yeah, no, dude, I wish the bots would watch. I'd get way more views. Bots, subscribe. You can hate them all, just subscribe. But what I'm saying is, when we see people succeed because they're doing something that we can't get ourselves to do,
Mhm.
we start talking trash about them.
Yeah.
Start hating. We start finding them like, oh no, they suck. They're full of crap.
Yeah.
Dude, why not support each other? Imagine if we all just support each other and dream. Obviously, call each other out when we're,
Right.
spewing BS. but-
I can relate to that a lot because growing up, there's been a lot of people that, everybody has haters, right?
Right.
But
when you try to do something for yourself,
yeah, for me personally, like I've had haters growing up and I've had people that try to stifle me and hold me back.
no way.
And sometimes I didn't see that because I thought that they were helping me. And then the crazy part is that God removes those people from your life. And maybe sometimes you don't understand why they were removed from your life.
Yeah.
But then later on, you end up figuring it out, right? like God shows you in due time. Yeah. This person didn't serve you, right? This person maybe wasn't talking the best speak when you weren't at the table.
Yeah.
Right. They weren't defending your name or whatever for whatever reason. Right. And that's why some people come and go. Some people are in our life for seasons and some people are in our life for years.
Yeah.
Right. Some people come and go.
Yeah.
And those people should serve as a reminder for whatever lesson God is trying to teach us in life. Right. And that should also serve as a reminder that we need to stay mentally sharp in this world, because the other side is always trying to attack us from every single angle.
Yeah.
Right. Without a yin, there's no yang. Without good, there's no evil.
Right.
Right. And as much as you can say like the world is all good and sunshine and things like that, that is doing a disservice to us, and it's doing a disservice to God, because there is a lot of work that needs to be done in this world.
Yeah.
Right. And so we have to pay attention to those types of things, to know that there are people that don't have the best thoughts, right?
That, for you, yeah.
Or not
interest,
but for lack of better words, just aren't thinking about good, positive things, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's more evil intentions.
Yeah. It reminds me of a situation where I was like dedicated to helping out this one group, and all of a sudden I got removed from it. And at the time I was like, what the heck? Like, what's happening? I gave my all. I tried my best. I tried to do all I could. And I didn't understand it at the time. But now that I've been away for like almost 2 years now, I see the picture. Like, I see what he wanted me to do. Whether it was for it, that, you know, that's my time, I got to start working on the other thing. Or if I would have stayed there longer, probably things would have gone pretty dicey, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't realize it at the moment. All we feel is the pain of loss. That's what you also mentioned. It's good to be detached from things, which is a St. John of the Cross quote. He was, I think, I don't know if he's a patron saint, but he does talk a lot about detachment. How we have to detach from everything. And only when we detach from everything can we attach ourselves fully to God. And that was kind of like his lifestyle. And it was such a beautiful life. And, you know, you also mentioned, like, be careful what you pray for. I was shown this prayer. It's called the Litany of Humility, where you're at. He's prayed it a couple times. Nobody really wants to be humble because it hurts so much. Our egos or our pride.
Yeah.
We think that we're like, okay, yeah, I'm pretty, you know, grateful and I understand where I'm at. But there's so many aspects of our life where our egos is you know, inflated. You know, I could be good at my job. I could be good with my kid at the gym, but with this particular person, I always feel slightly above. And that's where God's all like, check your role.
Yeah.
Check who you are. Because humility is to see yourself as you are, no more and no less. And for us, it's painful when we see ourselves less than what we thought we were. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's something that I read where it was like, treat the janitor like you would treat the CEO.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, I'm glad that you shared that, because I can relate. I try to treat everybody with kindness and fairness in anything that I do. Right? I don't care about your status, race, sex, whatever. Right? As long as you're a good person.
Yeah.
If you're someone that's, just not a good person,
You're up.
and kills the vibe, I need to stay away from you, right?
Yeah.
Right. Unless you want to improve yourself.
Yeah. And it's also important that we recognize, and this I realized recently, that mercy is also a virtue. You know, we can be merciful but separate ourselves from people. But man, maybe the first impression I had of this guy, he was at his lowest moment, and I didn't know that, and he kind of lashed out.
Yeah.
So,
you know, and I think that's where it takes like maybe your friends or brothers or whoever you're close with to come in to kind of, you know, for you to lean on, because there were times where I was going through some difficulties, and the people that I work with, there was some, for lack of better words, like not the best conversations.
right.
But once I got it all figured out, you know, we revisited those conversations, and I think part of being an adult is owning up to your mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, saying like, hey, you know, I'm sorry for the way that I acted. We're all trying to grow here.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's a one-off thing, it's like, all right, I could see this person is trying to improve themselves, right? And it's happened to me too, where people have kind of exploded, right? And at that moment, I'm just like keeping my cool. And then they come back and they're like, hey, sorry that happened. It's like, no problem.
Yeah.
Let's continue, you know,
Exactly.
working towards our goals.
Sorry to just completely get off topic. You said that you could only be here till 7:30. It's 7:32.
Oh, okay.
Are you good with time? Did you want to keep going, or
I mean, sure.
we can cut it?
We're good. Let's keep going. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for the shirt. It's like
Yeah.
medium. Is this your brand or?
Yeah. So it's funny. The Mafia is my supporters, my fan base, right? That's what I've dubbed the name, the Mafia.
Right.
My name is Mobster Mike. That's my ring name. And that just came about, 8 years ago now. And me and my family were in Monterey, and we go to one of these little photo booths, and they dress you up as a mobster.
Cool.
And they take a picture of us. Well, you know, some time passes, and I actually have Italian roots, and part of my family comes from Sicily.
Oh well.
Yeah, and I actually have I've done the ancestry test.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like I have receipts, and I would talk to my mom about it and talk to my grandma about it because my Italian roots come from my mom's side. And I was like, man, and I'm looking at that photo, and I'm like, man, I kind of look like a mobster, right? And at the time, I'm thinking like, man, what kind of names should I have for my MMA, right? Everybody has a cool ring name. So like at the time, I'm like, I want a cool ring name too.
Mobster.
And then Mobster came about, and I was like, Mobster Mike. I was like, I like cool. Let's roll with it, right?
Yeah.
So so Mobster Mike came about. I made shirts. The first set of shirts I made said Mobster on the top. There was a gorilla in the middle, and then Michael Gomez on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And then the gorilla had this mafia hat on or fedora or whatever it was, and he was smoking a cigar. And those are my first shirts. And then my second shirts, which are my favorite, was this red color shirt, and it had it was a circle logo, and it said Mobster Michael Gomez, and then in the middle is a picture of me with my hands up, doing my battle cry,
Yeah.
and that was my first win. That's when I got my first win.
Oh no way!
And
the picture on the shirt.
Picture, yeah. And now that it's some time, because I got my first win back in 2019.
Yeah.
And so now it's I look back at that logo, and it serves as a reminder of hey, you worked hard to get your first win.
Yeah.
Do it every single time now.
Is that the one?
That's the one. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, that's the one. So, yeah, and it just kind of happened unexpectedly, but it's cool now.
That's usually when the best things come up. When the name of the podcast, the Pray About It podcast, it came out of just a small conversation.
Unexpected.
Yeah.
And that's just shows you that that's God's work.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I love it.
It's funny. I think we're talking about vaguely remember. They're like, what should we call it? I don't know. We should just pray about it. And then we all just kind of pray about it. And then that's just kind of how that happened.
Yeah. And it's I like your setup. I like that, you really implement God in your conversations all the time.
Yeah.
I love it. It's very faith-based, and I love all the
trinkets. And
that you got up here, and it's really cool, man. So
thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Hats off to you.
And what's the name of your podcast?
The Mobcast. So the Mobster podcast, the Mobcast.
Yeah.
It's something that I've been really wanting to do for a while, right? And I've talked about it for years, and I never pulled the trigger for whatever reason. I don't know. God's timing. And now I'm starting to do it, and I think I have more of a reason to do it, and I have a really big network of people that I want to get on the podcast. It's just a matter of time, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get on this one. My coach is trying to get on this one. So it's a matter of timing. But
are you on YouTube, Spotify?
YouTube. I'm just on YouTube and Facebook, and that's it. But yeah, you can follow me on Instagram too. I'm going to plug my socials real quick. So Mobster Mike, MOBSTERMIKE, Mobster Mike. That's my fight page on Instagram. And then Michael, the MBA realtor, is my real estate one that you can follow me on. And then everything else you'll find on there. I post everything on there. But yeah, I started that. There was another podcast too that I started with the organization that I'm with, Merced County Young Professionals Network, which is a nonprofit, basically real estate group. But we also have like lenders and all these other different affiliates that are involved in it. I started the podcast on there, and now they're up to like 30 episodes, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's really cool because we connect with industry professionals. Good for that one. So it's cool. And now they're rolling with that. I'm on it occasionally now, but with everything else that I got going on, I just wanted to hand the keys off to somebody else to take care of it. But yeah,
that's what I tell Chris. He's like, dude, you need to start coming to more classes. That way you can come. Like, dude, I'm doing all the editing now. I had an editor, but
it's tough.
He got married. Now he has a baby on the way. So he's focusing on that. So I'm like, dang it. So I don't have time. I have to focus on editing. And I didn't know anything about editing.
Yeah.
He was so gracious enough to like show me like the ropes. Alex too, he learned right away and now he's showing me. So it goes back to community and shared vision and involving people.
Yeah.
Because Alex has pushed so much of my guests. He opened up my mind. I was just going to talk to like religious guests or anything. He's like, dude, talk to anybody that's willing to talk. We actually like would bump heads every once in a while, but luckily that's how our relationship is.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't matter if we disagree. We'll take the time after that discussion to like maybe at a point and then we'll just talk about it, you know?
Well, it's good that you're getting all these guests on here. I mean, how many episodes have you?
You're going to be episode 19.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the fact that you're diversifying the guests that you have on here, you just had the mayor on, I'm on here. I'm going to have
a priest on the next episode. The first priest. Yes.
Wow.
Great. Yeah.
See, just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Right. And there's no limit to how much you can grow.
Yeah. I was trying to start a podcast since 2020. But it was a lot of like trial and error or like demotivation would get the better of me.
Yeah.
And, or like people are like, no, you need a co-host. And I'm like, I don't really like co-hosts because I want to make it more about whoever the guest is instead of me and the co-host just overly talking, you know? And so it was a lot of trial and error and I just kind of gave up on it. Honestly, I gave a lot of my equipment to my godson and the other editor that was here that they were trying to start their own podcast. And then that fell apart. And Alex was like, dude, start a podcast. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I just started one little by little, got cameras, lights, mics, and then, yeah.
Well, it's definitely very professional already. I can tell. I mean, you guys put a lot of effort into it.
It's been a lot of years into it, but like, it's funny because on the YouTube page, it says that we've got 4 or 5 months in, but in reality, the work has been like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And going again, like nobody sees the process. Everybody just sees the end product.
You know, I'm so glad that you mentioned that the behind the scenes work, right?
Yeah.
It's like an iceberg. You can see the tip of the iceberg, but you don't see anything under the water, right?
Yeah.
And it can go, it could be 10 times as big as what's at the surface of the water. And anything that I do, and this is why I'm very grateful for everything that I'm doing, real estate, MMA, everything else, is that because there's work that goes behind it, but it's very rewarding in the end.
Yeah.
And it all correlates with each other, right? And I'm sure the same thing for you, right? You have the podcast, you're connecting with all these different individuals. Everything on the outside of your podcast has, I'm assuming, significantly changed, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It all correlates.
Give up. Honestly, dude, that's such a great conversation. About 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was telling Alex, dude, I think I want to quit it. I think I'm going to shut everything down. He's like, relax.
Right at your breaking point, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I felt when I was 0-2 in MMA, right? And then not only that, I faced that twice. I was 0-2, and then I won my next 2 fights.
Yeah.
And then I go, I switched gyms and everything that was going on in my life, you know, the new feeling of a new gym. I go 0-2 again.
Yeah.
My next 2 fights. Now I'm 2-4. And I'm like, damn, is this really for me again? Like, and I'm like, nah, let's lock in. Let's do it again, right? We just need to take some time to train and really focus up.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, same thing for you. You know, I don't know. I'll figure it out one day. Right. But having these conversations gets me one step closer to figuring out, like, why do we have to get to that edge before we really like excel to that next level? Right. We're at our absolute breaking point. Right. And then it's like, boom, then we finally hit success.
Yeah. And it's usually, like how you said, it's in that dip that we're like, I don't know.
And most people,
and then when we
there.
pushed it, it's like that dumb little meme that you see of the guy digging and he found diamonds.
Yeah.
The other guy gave up. And then like the diamond was just one hit away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, and it was through talking to people that got put in my life, to talking to God about this. Because honestly, all of this that I'm doing, it's like, I've prayed for it. I asked God, I'm like, God, if I do this, I want it to be because people get closer to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because people see that in fighting, in politics, and it doesn't matter. You're there. You're always involved. And I consecrated this podcast to Our Lady and St. Joseph, the Holy Spouses. And I said, like, you know, I give this podcast to you guys, and wherever it is that you want it to go, lead it to your son Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And before you come here, before we start a podcast, whoever's in the room, typically it's Alex or my other guy, we say a prayer, putting it in their hands, asking the Holy Spirit to be here throughout the whole time, regardless of what we talk about. We cannot mention, like, even if we slightly mention God, but we make sure that he's present at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And
I like that.
Yeah. And that's kind of what, like, the people around me reminded me, people that God put in my life. Like, what are you doing this for? Are you doing this because you care what other people are saying? You care what other people might do? Or are you doing this because
it's you versus you?
Yeah.
Really, it's you versus you. At the end, like, and if there's nobody else rooting for you at the end of the day, there's one person rooting for you.
Yeah.
And that's God.
Yeah.
That God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, right, are in your corner.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got to remain faithful to what it is that they want. And apparently, oh, well, we're here. So
Yeah.
So we're good. And it's just maintaining that and always remembering that it's for them, not for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
That's why I really like emphasizing my guest, you know, because it's so, talking about ego and, you know, humility, it's so easy. Like when you get all these likes, or you get all these views, or like if, you know, one of these videos blows up, I'm going to be like,
oh, it's,
and I'm so scared for that moment. It's going to feel good, but I'm scared. I'm like, I don't want it to go to my head.
Yeah.
I think that the relationship I'm having with God, with the people around me, it's going to keep me grounded.
Well, that's why I love mixed martial arts and I love real estate, is because I'm surrounded by people that humble me all the time.
Yeah.
I'm all like, I want to be like you. Like in real estate, there's people closing hundreds of deals, over 100 deals a year.
Yeah.
And I'm all like, man, I'm not like, I'm, for lack of better words, I'm nothing yet. Like I'll get there one day. I know I will. Right. But I have to go through this process. God is taking me through these steps and these challenges to overcome to get there. Right. But there's people in real estate that humble me, and in mixed martial arts, more so in mixed martial arts, because if you train, especially in kickboxing, Muay Thai, boxing, whatever, you're going to get punched in the face. I hate getting hit. I just hate it. Right. But like I know if I continue to do it, I'll get better, but there's people in the gym that are way better than me. And I just need to put the ego and the pride aside and be willing to learn. Right. And it's the same thing in your relationship with God. You need to put the pride and the ego aside, and you need to open up and be willing to have that connection and be willing to grow and say, all right, God, take the wheel, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. humility, so many saints have said that, like, that is the virtue to always strive for. I think it was St. Augustine that said, you know, you only need 3 virtues, you know, to make it: humility, humility, and humility. Because it just grounds you so much. And so many quotes, like, you know, you'll never find a humble person in hell, but you'll never find a prideful person in heaven. So it's very deep, and it cuts deep, because we realize in our weakness, in our humanness, how easy it is to compare ourselves to other people, to see it feels good to feel that we're like good at something, better at something than other people. But we got to remember where that comes from.
Yeah.
Right. And even if it is from our merit of training and fighting hard, we got placed in a situation where we're able to show this gift, you know?
Yeah. No, and it's okay. Like that's why there's levels to things, right? You know, we are, for lack of better words, better at some things than other people are.
Mhm.
But that's where it goes to show your empathy and putting your pride aside and being able to teach them to get better as well.
Right.
Right. And maybe they might even be better than you at that thing if you teach them. And that's where you need to be humble enough to do that.
Yeah.
To know that, hey, maybe this person might be better than me at it, but I'm happy to know that, you know, they found maybe their calling in life or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
There, like, I'll mention this real quick. There are so many people that I've helped, right? And I don't even talk to them anymore. Right. And it used to hurt, because I'm all like, dang, like, I helped you get to where you needed to go. But then as I got older, I realized, like, again, some people are in our life for seasons and some people are in our life for years.
yeah.
Right. And God puts us in those people in their lives, and God puts those people in our lives to help us continue to go where we need to go.
Right.
Right. I wouldn't have gotten through college if it wasn't for a lot of people that supported me that I don't talk to anymore.
Good for you.
But if it wasn't for the motivation behind that and all that stuff, I wouldn't have gotten I wouldn't have gotten my degree. And I did. I finished it, right? Thankfully.
Yeah.
But some of those people are no longer in my life, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I served them just as much and helped motivate them just as much. And I think now, like, I understand that now. And the only thing that I hope for is that they're doing well.
Yeah.
Right. And that's another thing that God teaches us, is to pray for your enemy, pray for your neighbor. Right. I don't wish anything bad on anybody. Right. I hope that they do well. And I'm glad that I was able to be a stepping stone, right, and do what God wanted me to do for those people, and vice versa, that God used them to help me.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that you mentioned that there's people in your life that helped you that you don't talk to anymore. So you do see the like correlation, like, oh, they were there in the season to help me, and now I don't talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that there's something personal or there's bad blood. It's just sometimes life just takes us in different directions.
It's just life.
Yeah. And it's funny, going back to what I was talking about in Lent, when I like switched up on God, the reason I was mad at him was because it was so funny when I saw it, and when he revealed it to me, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I realized my mistake. People had switched up in my life, and I was just like, man, I try to do good for people. I try to do this, and like, you don't even help me. And then I switched up on God, and I didn't see it at the moment. I was just like blind rage towards God.
Yeah.
And then when it hit hard, and I was like, okay, so what I felt, you know, when this thing was happening to me, I'm sure that's what you felt the day of like your crucifixion, when none of your disciples were there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when Peter denied you 3 times, when Judas turned you in, you know, these are your people. These are the ones that were with you. Yeah, your day ones, right? Yeah.
And Jesus did all of that knowing what was going to happen. But the thing is like, Jesus did it because he wanted to do it. He didn't do it and expect anything in return, right? Other than our devotion to him, and our love, right? Because Jesus died for our sins, and he cleansed us, of our sins from the past, that day, and from all time to come. Anybody born after that.
Yeah.
Cleansed our sins, right? We should have the same thought of, if we're going to do good for the world, we should expect nothing in return and just do it out of the kindness of our hearts.
That's beautiful.
And that's exactly what I try to do every single day, right? Because God did that. Jesus did that.
Yeah. And when he revealed his mercy to me after I had switched up on God, and he's like, I'm still here. I'm all like, wow, I finally let it go with, these people that I felt like were trying to switch up on me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'll follow your example.
When you turned your back on God, God was still there for you.
Yeah. And I'm all like, I don't necessarily need to be there for them, but I don't need to hold anything against them because you're not holding this against me. Yeah, it was a powerful moment. And since then, it's just, I bring him to, like when I pray during moments of temptation, I just fully surrender. I'm like, I am too weak. I can't do this. I need you to save me. I need you to help me, because every time I've tried to fight this battle, I fall. And that's because I don't trust in you. I don't rely on you. So I'm giving this to you. Yeah. And it completely changed my relationship with them. That's sensitive.
That's great.
Yeah, man. But man, I love how our conversation like weaves back to fighting and then back into God and then back into politics and then back to everything.
There's a lot of things. Yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about. I mean, it's awesome to be surrounded by people that just want to grow something and grow themselves, right? And I love being around ambitious people. I love that there's no sense of like hating on each other, because I've been around those people.
Yeah.
It's very exhausting and it takes away from your energy. And anytime I sense that now, I'm like, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
I don't need to, right? Because it's doing a disservice with my relationship with God, right? Since we're talking about God and Jesus so much, like that, I don't want that to happen, because then I'm over here thinking about that.
Yeah.
When I could be thinking about how can I grow my relationship with God?
Yeah.
Right. That's all I really care about. And that's in all honesty.
Yeah.
Right. Because when I have a better relationship with God, I'm a better man.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm striving to be godlike. And it's like, we don't have an image of God, right? But at least we can try to do the things that are positive. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just trying to do God's work. And you are doing just that. Right. If nobody's telling you that, like, I'm going to tell you that, because this podcast is cool. Like, I like that we're talking about this kind of stuff. Right. But I try to do that in everything else that I do.
Yeah.
I don't like say it as much. Right. But I know it in my heart, and that's all that really matters. Right. And I preach it. I preach when I feel is right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always about time and place. But the biggest way that we preach is our example, the way that we live.
Yeah. Because for lack of better words, like, I'm not the guy to talk to about it. Right. But I'll do my best to share life experiences with y'all in my relationship with God. And hopefully you can take something away from that. Right. And I never thought growing up that I would be that person to have those types of experiences, but I'm glad that I'm able to help people and have these types of conversations.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your words about, doing God's work. Because, the enemy does put a lot of doubt in our minds, especially when like nothing's happening,
Yeah.
We're putting work and we see no results. So thank you. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, dude.
And, so the Mobster podcast, do you have a theme of like exactly what you want to talk about, or is it more just like open to whatever?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of sort of the same thing. It's I want to have any and all guests on there.
Yeah.
Right. I am involved in a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful and blessed that God allows me to do that. Obviously I've mentioned it all. I'm not going to mention it again.
Yeah.
But for me, on my podcast, I want to get the politicians on there. I want to get the local business owners on there, the coaches, the athletes, and you know, all these people, right? I want to get you on there.
I'll be more than happy to be on there.
And that's just what I want to be able to connect with people. Yeah. Yeah. And learn their story, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, whenever I have conversations with people, I like to do an 80-20 rule where they do 80% of the talking. I do 20% of the talking.
Yeah.
Right. In the sense, this is a podcast and you invited me on as a guest. So obviously I'm going to talk a lot more, but that's generally what I try to do. And that's what I strive for in my podcast. And you can see that in the first podcast when I have Chris on there, and he talks a lot about his life and the experiences that we've had together and things like that. And like, because he has a lot to say, and I'm glad that you do it. And I'm glad that I'm able to give people a platform to be able to share that, because people have a lot to say. Not a lot of people are able to listen, right? We live in that type of world too, where the attention span is so short that people can't have conversations like this anymore, right? So,
and I think that's why podcasts blew up so much, because people don't get real conversations anymore. They just get 15 seconds of something, and then you swipe and you
brain rot.
Forget. Exactly. But you listen to a 1 hour, a 2 hour, 3 hour podcast, and you gain so much knowledge. Especially if both of them are like really like specialists, have a specialty in a certain thing.
Yeah,
you gain so much knowledge. And honestly, part of this podcast is for me to grow in my faith, to interview people in their life, to hear different types of stories.
And it's funny, I just thought of this right now too, because it's like we talked about like people hating and all that stuff, and it's like people probably hate on stuff like this, like, oh, they're just trying to be like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he motivates.
Maybe I am
so much.
Yeah, he's inspiring. I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast every single day.
Yeah,
right. Heck yeah, I'm trying to be like Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah. So what I love about Joe, what? Go ahead.
Well, yeah, like maybe some of his morals or some of his ethics people don't agree with, but the part that is probably the best is his financial freedom that allows him to express himself without facing huge consequences, and he's free to explore and free to do his research and share that with people. He's not afraid to share it. And that's the part I definitely want to be like, I agree with that.
Yeah. What I love about Joe Rogan, because I love comedians. I've loved them since Bill Cosby. I know, but before I knew all that stuff, I loved comedy since Bill Cosby. My brother showed it to me. So it's my brother's fault for supporting it. Anyways, I love how he built up his community of podcasters. All of these comedians have their own podcasts. And instead of saying like, no, like I'm the guy, he says, no, you can be the guy too. You can be the guy too. You can be the guy too. And now they just jump on each other's podcasts, and I can't get enough of it, man.
There are so many people in the United States and on this planet that there's plenty to go around, right? And I love that there's such a diverse set of podcasts, because it's like you can latch onto one or two or three and just stick with those, right? Whereas somebody else might latch on to two or three completely different podcasts. And I just like that. I think that this is like people should continue doing this type of stuff.
Yeah. The Rohi, the guy that I had last week, he's all like, dude, even if you only get Madeira, that's 66,000 people.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. He says, so don't worry about it. Just keep doing it. I'm like, yeah, man, you're right. Like, cause one gets too much in their head, we think like, well, Joe Rogan has millions. I only have 70 subscribers, right? But it's just like, well, he started with episode 1.
Yeah. I got a good one for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah. 100%.
Comparison is the thief of joy, right? Why do we compare ourselves to other people? You mentioned social media has really taken a toll on people's mental health because there's a lot of comparison going on. At the end of the day, it's you versus you, right? If you believe in it yourself, keep going for it. And God's going to back you. If God gives you that vision, it's for a reason. Right? And if it's something that you want to do, go for it.
Yeah.
Despite the critics, you have professional athletes every single year that get criticized for everything, right? And you know what the champions do?
They keep fighting.
Every year they keep proving the critics wrong, right? Somebody will say something about a professional athlete, and then that athlete's like, okay, and then they prove them wrong. Then they turn around and then they'll say something else, and the athlete's like, okay, and they prove them wrong. But the thing is the difference is the athlete isn't like, he or she doesn't care about what they say.
Yeah.
He or she cares about themselves and how can they make themselves better every year.
Yeah. And I love what you said, and it made me think of something else. Like, you know, I did vote for Trump, and I do, like I was saying in the last episode, I'm like, man, I got Trump fatigue. I just watched Fox News. Alex was telling me about another one that's more unbiased instead of like all Republican, because sometimes I only get one side of the story. But then I check out these other news medias that are against Trump, and I'm like, they hate him, but they're using him to get so much views, so much content.
Oh, the ratings.
Yeah, and it's just like, even then, like when someone is like criticizing a podcast, they make a YouTube channel of criticizing other people that actually have skills and are trying, and and then they just get views for being negative on all of them. So,
well, that it sells, right?
It does.
It sells.
Negativity is so attractive.
Yeah, and they're able to monetize it and make money off of it. And if they didn't make any money off of it, they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right. But if it sells, they're going to do it, you know?
And it's so much easier to create a channel where you're criticizing instead of trying to.
There's a lot of like back and forth on things. And I just think that we need to really work together on these issues.
Yeah.
And because like we have a lot of issues here locally and on a national level, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't want to get on the national level because obviously like I don't know enough to figure that out. That's not my job. Like I see it, and you know, hopefully the elected officials are able to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. But here locally, I meant Madera, for example, right? The hospital was shut down.
Yeah.
For 2-3 years, right? Our assemblywoman was able to get funding for the hospital to reopen. Now, I don't know about you or anybody else, but when I hear about that, I'm like, that's cool. Like, I hope you continue doing that.
Yeah.
Well, she's a Democrat. Okay. Now, you have someone like John Duarte, who was our representative out for Congress, right? Because our assemblywoman is here in California. She's a state assemblywoman. Yeah. And Esmeralda Soria. And John Duarte, it was a congressman. Now it's Adam Gray.
Yeah.
But the thing is they're providing resources here in the Valley, and they're able to speak on that level and provide the resources that we need.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be able to go out there and get the job done for our area in order to grow, like, cool. Like I support you.
Yeah.
Whether you're left or right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of issues that I'm not going to touch on, right? But that were very controversial this last election.
Yeah.
Right. But if we're putting all that aside on a local level here, if we're focusing on this and they're providing the resources, let's keep it going.
It's whoever gets the job.
Let's keep it going. Yeah. And then we can talk about other issues, right?
Yeah.
And of course, like I've talked about it with other people offline on like about this kind of stuff, right? And that's where we try to figure out a solution on these things.
Yeah. And just because, I mean, I mentioned this on the last podcast too. Just because I voted for Trump, it doesn't mean that I agree with everything that he does or says. But, you know, when we have two candidates, I have to vote for the one that follows my beliefs a lot more, regardless Democrat or Republican. Before that, I follow God. I follow Christ. And whichever one leans more towards his teachings is the one that I have to go for. It actually became where like it's a moral obligation where it can become sinful if I refuse to vote because of certain things, if it's going to help out, you know, the faith.
Yeah. Well, I meant And like I said, it was a very touchy subject. It was last election, and there was a lot of debate on that.
There's still a lot of touchy things. Yeah, right.
And I think it's always going to be, and that's why, you need to separate church from state.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And just keep it separate.
Yeah, we talked about that in the last podcast. It should be out tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, there's things that government shouldn't get involved in when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right. There should be so there's just things that we shouldn't make decisions on, that we should maybe let third parties make a decision on, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes I don't think it's the government's place to make those types of,
and vice versa too.
and vice versa. Right. So, I mean, that's just how,
Yeah,
that's just how it is.
Sorry, yeah.
That's just how it is. So,
Yeah, but hopefully we all can come to a place where we don't identify each other by which side you lead on, and see the person.
yeah. I'm going to share a funny story. Sure. When I was in college at Stanislaus State, we were coming back from COVID because for a while the campus was, we were online. Well, the library opened back up, and they had just remodeled the library too. So it's very nice, right? And I'm in there studying, waiting for my next class, and I go to the bathroom, and the bathrooms have these stalls that are each stall is from floor to ceiling, right? Completely covered. So it's very, very private. Well, I go to the bathroom, and then I'm washing my hands. Well, a girl walks out. I freak out, right? I'm all like, oh, going out in the girls' restroom, right? And she plays it off like nothing, right? Well, then I like instantly think, I'm like, oh wait, is that one of those like all-inclusive restrooms? And so I go out and I look at the sign, and I'm like, oh yeah, it is, right? I was like, damn, that's crazy. That
would be my first thought too.
Yeah. It's because like you see like guys walking in there too, right? So you're like, okay, guys' restroom, right? Immediately you think that, right? And then a girl walks out, you're like, what? So yeah.
I actually had a similar experience because I was going to Fresno State right before COVID. So like for 2 months before they shut down. And I remember I was walking and I was on the second floor of the library. If I just see the restrooms, I'm like, bro, I gotta go. And it didn't say women, so I knew I was good to go. So I walk in there, do my stuff. As I'm coming out, there's a girl that walks in. I'm like, oh man, my bad. And then she's like, it's gender neutral. I was like, it's what? Never before ever been in one of those restrooms. I was scared though. I was like, I've seen these stories, like they're gonna accuse me and stuff, but I just didn't,
Yeah, it was something new. So I was like, okay, this is different. Yeah.
Luckily, I'm not educated, so I don't have to worry about that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that was just like, again, that was something that was brought up in, was a very controversial issue.
Yeah.
Now you see that playing out, but I don't know. That's just a funny story.
Yeah, man. Well, I won't take up much more of your time. Yeah. Thank you, man. We hit 2 hours, so good job.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, once you get some time to get on get your podcast up and going,
We'll have you on.
I'll be
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you need any help, or tips on anything, I'm more than happy to help you.
Yeah.
Alex is good at
Do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's tough starting out. Like I said, it took years before I was able to get a setup,
And I'm looking at everything, like the microphones are nice, the camera set up. I'm like, heck yeah, this is cool.
And there's still a handful of things that in the back of my mind, I'm like, nope, I seem to fix this and this. But, it's
Learn as you go.
Yeah.
Always. In everything that you do.
The important thing is just start and keep going.
Yeah. I want to give a few shout outs real quick before we end this off.
Absolutely.
I want to give a shout out to my gym, Madera Martial Arts in Madera, California. Shout out to all my teammates there, and my coach, brother, mentor, Christopher Arias. And then I want to give a shout out to all my sponsors on my last fight. Senga Energy, Larry Turner, Anissa Fregoso, Farmers Insurance, the Merced County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Julian and Nadine Villafania with Piso y Gritos, Juan Herrera with Stanford Mortgage, and there's probably a lot of other people out there that I didn't mention, so I'm sorry, but you're in my hearts. And shout out to Iron Key Real Estate. If you ever need a real estate agent, you know who to call. Me. I help first-time home buyers, investors, and if you're looking to sell your property, I will help you with that as well. land, residential. I work with my partner, Christopher Arias, and we do work with Spanish-speaking clients, si habla español. And what else? Any one-on-one fitness trainings that you guys need, I'm your guy too for that. Anything marketing. So if you need help with any marketing for this, I'm your guy. I went to school for that. I got my master's degree in that. So anything there. Make sure you follow me at Mobster Mike. And that's about it. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, 2 hours, and for allowing me to yap. I appreciate it.
You were such a treat to have. So thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and just finish off with a prayer.
Yeah.
All right. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, thank you so much for bringing so many great people into my life. And I ask and I pray that you continue to help us grow as people, as a community, as a country, closer to you. And always put you in the center of things and never forget what it is that you gave us. Help us, help the fighters in their matches and their training, and also help us fight against temptation to always run back to you when we feel weak. We pray this in Jesus' name with the intercession of Mary and Joseph. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.